This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is a little bit more reflective, perhaps a little bit deeper than you're used to me talking about on Entrepreneurs Get Visible. I'm talking about how to allow yourself to rest and heal when much of your life becomes overwhelming. And I'm going to be talking about this, sharing some of what's been going on for me recently, but being very mindful that some of the things I'm dealing with aren't actually my story to tell. So you will have to forgive and understand that there are some elements that I can't go into. The reason I've decided to talk about this, even though I'm in the midst of a processing period, is because I know that there are so many of us who go through challenging times. And that this could happen to what's going on for me right now could happen to any one of you. I'm in a period where for the last 2, maybe even 4 years, I've had immense amount of pressure around me. And that really started to escalate about 6 months ago. So we'd had this underlying pressure in the wider family for a sustainable period of time where I felt very much that I was the linchpin. I was holding things together for various people and various members of my family. And alongside that, I'm very driven and I'm very growth focused and really generally very excited about my work and showing up and serving in the world. I'm also very results focused. So I set myself targets, I set myself goals. Normally, I'm jumping out of bed, ready to start the day, and I can't wait to share my expertise, bring on new clients, whatever it is. But this year, for whatever reason, has been extremely challenging. And I'm one of those people who, when my close people need me, I'm there, I'm all over it. And I feel very much that I hold that, I'm the glue that holds things together. And I normally can keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And then actually I've reached a point where things around me have now settled again. And to put this in context, we're talking about, real life and death stuff, important things, people's lives, people's health, people's longevity of life or lack of. And obviously, we've also been through a pandemic. Now, what's happened for me is that I had a number of challenges in the business throughout the last 6 months as I was dealing with personal issues. And there's only so much capacity that I had to give and to show up. And there were a couple of things actually that we pulled back on launching midway through launch because I couldn't deliver it. It wasn't possible. There wasn't enough capacity. There wasn't enough time for me to continue to deliver the thing that I'd intended. And so from a financial perspective, that was really annoying. And I didn't need that money, as it were. There was an expectation that that was coming into the business. But when I looked at my life and what was going on for me in all other areas, I knew that there was no way that I could deliver what I'd promised or what I'd intended to deliver. And there was a little bit of shame that came up for me about that as I was watching many of my peers who were not having the level of stress that I was under in my personal life absolutely skyrocket. And it's not to mean by any stretch of the imagination that I was failing. In fact, the business has grown by 300% over the last 12 months. But my targets, my personal goals, I couldn't reach them because my focus wasn't there. I didn't have the lightness and the energy about myself any longer. Not too long ago, I started waking in the morning instead of being desperate to get out of bed and to get on with things that I would do in my morning routine. So some exercise, some journaling, potentially some visualization, something like that. Things that were really healing and good for me. I was actually increasingly sleeping in. I felt like I needed to sleep as much as possible. And that then would have a knock-on effect with getting the children ready for school. And I didn't notice initially that lots of those good habits had slipped because I just felt like I needed to rest. And then I started to notice that my heart rate was increased in the morning and I was starting to feel anxious, I suppose, panicked a little bit. I wouldn't say it was a panic attack or an anxiety attack, nothing as strong as that. But there was definitely some physical dysregulation in my body. And actually, it kept feeling in my family life that we'd just got things settled and then another thing and then another thing and then another thing. And then I'd think again, okay, because at least if I can get through this, then I'm going to be able to process, I'm going to have some time. And it just kept not happening. And as a result, more and more things have happened around me. I've had to go in. I've had to retract. I've had to retract my attention from a lot of the business, particularly some of the visibility issues to do with the business, showing up on social media in the same way that I usually would, creating content, being on camera. Those things haven't been possible because my attention's been elsewhere and I've had to really dig into resting and recuperating my energy. And what this has done for me has really made me begin to question how I'm living my life. Now, whatever's going on for me at home, I know that those things aren't actually going to be going away in the next few years. In fact, they're probably going to escalate. Now, in my value system, my family is way more important than anything else. Not that I don't matter, but that comes heavily first. And my challenge now is to think, well, how do I navigate this change that's happening around me and grow my business, and the growth that I go for is actually in line with what I need in my personal life now. So that's a challenge that I'm looking at right now. And one of the things that I've been doing is I've been sleeping an awful lot. I've been meditating a lot. I've been really journaling, following someone else's process. So not normally the way that I would journal, following someone else's guidance, someone else's audio course, actually, that each day is prompting me to journal around specific topics about the kind of life I want to live. What am I actually building? How do I want to show up in my relationships? And it's been incredibly useful. I've also started to work with a new life coach, a coach who is going to be focusing not on business and how I create more money and wealth and success, and not just a layer of mindset, but going really core to how do I want to live my life so that holistically the life I'm building is actually what I want. I feel as though allowing myself to drop everything bar what I personally have to deliver to clients and allowing my team to step up to support me has shown me that one, I'm very lucky that I've built that and I've taken the time to build some of those solid foundations. But two, it's allowed me to start to see that actually this is going to be a really good process for me. It feels as though I'm going to be much more grown up in my attitudes towards business because everything is going to be built and rebuilt potentially to fit the needs of my family and my growing values and desires. What's happened as well is that I've been much more tapped into the need in my life for extra creativity and extra connection, and that I don't actually want those things to necessarily be connected with my business, that I want much more fun and adventure, so that I have really positive outlets that are not actually relating to my family even necessarily. And what's happened for me is that I've realised that I have some big ambitions that are nothing to do with business that I will probably share with you at some other point. Parts of me, I guess, that whilst I've been on the entrepreneurial journey have been maybe locked up in a little box that are ready to come forth into the world. I feel as though allowing myself to have this time, and this period of time will probably go on for a couple of months, if I'm honest, right up into early 2022, allowing myself this time to process, to rebirth, is a little bit like shedding the skin, being at that snake who is literally coming out in a new way into the world. And I do believe that through a lot of the meditation that I've been doing, a lot of the spirituality that I'm doing, is that after this period, actually life is going to be much more improved, that my resilience is going to be better, that everything around me is going to support what my own personal well-being in this. This hasn't been an easy episode for me to record, But I think it's important. I actually, after 2 weeks of virtual silence on Facebook for a couple of weeks, I put out a post last night just explaining a little bit of what I've been going through. And I think I've had something like 110 comments of people saying, I get that. I'm so glad to hear it's not just me. I'm going through the same things, which is why I chose to come on and talk about this today. If you're in that slump right now, maybe it isn't a slump. Maybe this is a good thing for you. Maybe it's time to look at how fast you've been trying to go and find other ways to bring joy, adventure, and connection into your life. I'm sending you lots of love if you're in that place right now. And I hope that if you're listening to this, this gives you a little bit of solidarity. I think that's the word I want to use, solidarity, that you're not alone, we're not alone. And sometimes before there can be amazing things on the horizon, sometimes it has to be dark. And if you're in that place right now, just trust it, enjoy it, let yourself sleep, let yourself rest, let yourself meditate, let yourself go on long dog walks, let yourself sit and watch a film in the middle of the day, even when you should be working. Let the shoulds go, because you're going to be stronger and much more able to come back in a different way, with a different energy, with new insights, the sooner you allow yourself to breathe. I'd love to hear from you if this has touched you in some way today. And as I said, if you're going through this too or something similar, sending loads and loads of love your way.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.